free speech advocates, listen up. I'm going to give you my 2 cents on how I think we can possibly save the freedom of speech and not watch it get taken over by private companies. I understand the private company argument. I've made it myself several times before. But I do think there's a difference between a platform and a publisher. That's an argument for another day. And for you Republicans out there saying the other side doesn't care about freedom of speech, they will change their minds very soon. Not less than 60,000 Dems just got banned from Twitter for having Antifa affiliation. Now, if you are a free speech advocate this whole time, I understand how easy it is to sit back and laugh at them like they laughed at Count Dankula and Alex Jones and all these other guys, even if they're crazy. Crazy's not against the law. And you're ready to just laugh at them, just like they laughed at you when you said no. Well, here's how you do this first. First thing you do, crack yourself a beer. Gotta let it separate for a moment. Proper head on that bad boy. Anyway, pour yourself a nice delicious beer, let it settle, and enjoy it. And then tomorrow, get up and fight for those guys' rights to speak. Even if you hate what they're saying, you can't play one side of this argument and not the other. You can't say that we deserve freedom of speech, but then when they get censored, laugh at them and say, ha ha ha, what goes around comes around, or you reap what you sow. And I understand all these arguments. But if you allow them to go and get censored because they're no longer useful to the Democrat Party, and by the party, I mean the party itself, not the people that vote Democrat. When I refer to the Democrats, I'm not referring to individuals. I'm referring to the party itself, not the voter. But that's something else. Like I said, I'm still enjoying my beer. But fight for their rights, for real. Because, like I said, a lot of folks that agreed with what was being put out for 4 months or 5 months, whatever, during these riots, believed that Antifa didn't exist because they kept being told by Joe Biden and Cuomo from CNN, not his brother, the mayor or governor. I'm not sure which one he is. I'd have to look. But now they're admitting these guys exist. Twitter actually banned these folks because on Biden's inauguration, they destroyed an ICE building and the Dem headquarters in Portland. Now all of a sudden they're real and they're a threat and they exist, which is a little But that's exactly where I'm going with this. Is that we've censored the arguments pointing at Antifa for so long that many people still believe they don't exist, even though their party has come out and said they're a threat and they're terrorists. They get ready to put them on a terrorist watch list, which is weird because they're domestic, and there's all sorts of weird laws about domestic terrorism. Like, I'm pretty sure it's not an actual thing. It's not called terrorism if you're a citizen within the nation. I gotta say though, listen to these nutjobs lose their minds over actual extremists calling to hang the former vice president of this country, watching them get kicked off of this stuff. And okay, I'm gonna stop myself there. People calling to actually hurt people, I'm cool with being removed because that is incitement to violence. When you say, I'm surprised there aren't more riots, or we say, I'm going to bail the rioters out of jail, that should be taken down so people don't see that. Because if the VP-elect tells you that she's going to bail you out of jail if you burn down a Wendy's, for example, in a riot, that she'll bail you out of jail. I don't think we should have people getting that kind of incentive thinking that the president and the VP are going to protect them for, well, let's use that word again, terrorism. They're going to very soon realize that they can't just shut up who they don't like, because they're trying to shut up too many people now. They're shutting up people that voted for them. They're shutting up people that supported them because they were so against Trump. And it's not the enemy of my enemy is my friend. It's a common enemy. And that's why a lot of these folks that got kicked off of all this stuff, excuse me, are going to come and start fighting with your middle of the road folks, you know, your actual classical liberals, you libertarians, your right-leaning libertarians, and Republicans are going to be having a common enemy, which would be censorship. And they will be fighting together, but just don't think of them as your enemy, because these folks have morals and opinions just like you do. They're just different. When you do agree, work together. I mean, that's how we're going to come with this unity thing that Biden keeps saying, which I'm laughing my butt off, because in that same speech, he actually called half the country deplorable. He didn't use that word, but that's what he said. Check it out. Give it a good listen when he's saying that, you know, we've been divided by nativism and a couple other things, which I got a good laugh out of nativism. Aren't they a protected minority, the natives? But yeah, it's crazy. Actually, at the Dem headquarters, when they destroyed it, they spray painted, "We don't want Biden, we want vengeance." Okay, that dude should be arrested. Well, anyone involved in the desecration and destruction of this property should be arrested. I was about to get into the hypocrisy thing again. Anyone actually paying attention realizes the hypocrisy that's going on. That saying they're going to bail people out of jail for rioting is not inciting violence, but saying fight for your rights is. Actually, check this out. A New York columnist just lost his job for saying Joe Biden should lynch Mike Pence. I disagree with this. He should have got a warning and maybe a suspension, but not lost his job over it. Because I don't think he actually meant that they should go out there with ropes, you know, beat the crap out of him, throw a rope over a tree, and hoist him up old school lynch style, not even a proper hanging. I don't think he actually meant for that to happen. I think he was being hyperbolic and making an example. And I think that a lot of people would agree with me. And I know there's a lot of people that read the New York Times that agree with me, but still think saying fight for your rights is incitement to violence. Again, they'll come around soon enough. Very soon, actually. Especially what's been going on. Once people start ripping Biden apart for stuff that's not accurate, I'm going to start defending him left and right like I did for Trump for a while. And it really bothers me that you guys made me defend Trump. It really does. I was not a huge fan. I liked some of the stuff he did, but I like some of the stuff Obama did. Yeah. Anyway, they're coming around. Wait for them. Welcome to the fight. Don't let people silence you. You have a right to say anything as long as you're not inciting violence or threatening someone. And, you know, you keep hearing people say you're not allowed to yell fire in a crowded theater. What if there's a fire? By the way, that would be inciting a public panic because you could cause a stampede where people would get crushed. That's why you can't run into like a movie theater and yell fire. But yeah, there it is. Your Republicans seem to think that you are better than the Democratic Party. I don't necessarily disagree, but I'm not a big fan of the Republican Party either. I like the Republican people. I like the Democrat people. I will say I can have a better conversation with a Republican without being called a terrible name if I disagree with them. Alright, well, see what you think. Let me know. Well, yeah, again, you Republicans think you're better. That's where I was going. You Republicans think you're better. Show it. Step up. Be the better man, better woman, better they, them, better zer. And say, reinstate all these people's accounts. Let them back in unless they actually called for violence. You know. The issue is when you start censoring, but I'll just go with individual words. We all know a couple words that you're not allowed to say on television. You know, George Cowan did a whole thing about it, and there's ethnic slurs you can't use. Pretty much at all without getting your butt kicked. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. I understand people get upset, whatever. But the thing is, when you go and ban all word because it's offensive to people, all that happens is another word fills its space. You know, you banned, and again, I'm not saying that these words are correct because they're only being used to hurt people's feelings. Just understand that. But when you went and banned the N-bomb, pretty much universally everywhere. And I don't necessarily say that's wrong, but it made room for the next one. That referred to a rodent. There you go. I was trying to think of it. A rodent with rings on its tails and a little mask. A raccoon. From that, or referring to ghosts. And I understand that people are just trying to offend people when they use these words. But every time you get rid of one, another one's just going to show up to do the same thing. All we're doing is taking words out of our vocabulary. For example, that N-bomb actually means an ignorant person. It's what the word actually means. And the very common ethnic slur for homosexuals is actually referring to a bundle of sticks, because it's stronger when they're together and they won't break as they will as an individual. So I mean, we're losing use of words because they're offensive, but again, we're just going to lose the next word that comes in its place. I don't like censorship at all. I think if you have a private company, it's one thing if you are stopping your own employees from doing stuff because you're paying them. But if you are running a public platform, like Facebook and Twitter are supposed to be like the Boston Common, right? You're supposed to be able to go there and say what you got to say, as long as you're not calling for violence. As soon as you say you can discriminate because you disagree, a business can discriminate because they disagree with what someone has to say, you're opening the door to say, I'm not going to do business with you because you're Jewish. Well, I'll just use that one first, because they've been, dear God knows, they've been kicked around enough in world history, the horrible things that have happened to those poor folks. But all I can say is I disagree with what they have to say because they believe in a false God. I could say the same thing about anyone who's not Christian. And if you really believe that half these folks are truly racist folks, they'll find a way to disagree with any minority who comes through their door. Right? If half this country is racist, you have to make sure that they can't say, I disagree with you, so you can't do business here. And like when they shut down Parler between Google Play and Apple, and then Amazon shutting down their servers, which, by the way, sounds like a little bit of collusion there when it all happened within 3 days, which is technically a monopoly when a whole bunch of people get together to drive out competition that way. But the problem is, you go ahead and you destroy something like Parler because you think there's a whole bunch of Nazis hiding there. While they were there, you could have kept track of what they were saying. Now you've driven them underground to somewhere that you don't know where it is. Another place is going to pop up, just like another ethnic slur. Another one will show up, and now you don't know where it is. Like, oh, Parler's gone. All the Nazis are gone. No, they didn't just not be Nazis all of a sudden. They're somewhere else, still doing what they're doing, and now you can't monitor what they're planning. And that sounds more terrifying to me, not knowing what the actual extremists are saying versus shutting them up. That's it, the same thing. Not knowing what they're saying versus them saying it. I'd rather hear what they have to say, because they're still going to say it, but to only people that agree with them. And then something might happen because there's no one there to tell them, you guys are wrong. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. If you found what I had to say interesting, thought-provoking, or even just made you flip a coin over and inspect it aside before you determined its value, go ahead and give me a subscribe, or even better, share it out there for someone else to watch. It's only a couple minutes at a time, and I'm just kind of speaking my mind like everyone else should be doing out there. God bless and love you all. Good luck all.